Welcome back to another episode of the After the Timeout podcast in partnership with the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association. Our first guest of 2023 is Allie Sanders, assistant women's basketball coach at Harvard University. We talked to Coach Sanders about using technology to market your program, the role of recruiting coordinator, working with a first-time head coach, creating scouting reports, and much, much more. As always, thank you for listening to the After the Timeout podcast. All right, Coach, we start every episode with our opening tip. So we kind of wanted to go through kind of how you got into coaching. Okay, you obviously you played here in Illinois at Dundee Crown, then you went off to Florida to play your collegiately, right? And then you're done playing. What kind of decision-making process was those next steps, and how did you end up getting into the coaching world?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely started before I went to Florida. When I was in high school, right away, I knew I wanted to coach. So whether it was just getting extra work in with my teammates to start or coaching younger kids, we had camps all the time in the summer. It was a big part of me as a player developing, was just kind of getting my voice as a leader on the floor as a point guard. And then in college, I played Division II, so I had summers. So I came back to Illinois. I worked for Illinois Magic as an AU coach, started as an assistant, and then had my own team. I believe it was seventh and eighth graders. And then also just working camps again. So whether it was Dundee Crowns or worked it for PGC, and just anytime I could get my hands on a ball and be teaching. That's just kind of how it started, was in college as well. So did some individual workouts with players, high school players, back home when I also came back from Florida. So that was kind of how it started. So I knew right away. And of course, my goal in high school was I wanted to be a high school PE teacher and a coach. And then I got to college and I was like, wait, I can do this full time and I don't have to teach anything. This sounds spectacular. So got right into that. Had some people really help me and mentor me through the process of finding a way into college, which is definitely a process, but I knew all along that I wanted to coach.
Sounds to me, Todd, like we need to find a new route. She went right to just coaching full time. So we wanted to jump in for you. Todd and I like to do our homework on every guest, and you've done an abundance of work with technology. You began it as an assistant video coordinator. So the first kind of topic we wanted to jump in with you was what did you learn early on from taking video and kind of making it a sort of come to life for players? And then more of a broader question, just in your opinion, how can coaches more effectively use video to teach players? Because obviously we know there's video everywhere now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it is a ton of technology. And what's been interesting is you brought up, being at Marquette and working in those technology jobs. That's what seems like been a while ago. I think it's been 6 years, and everything evolves so quickly. And I think the most important thing is that we're staying up to technology, and we're staying up to how people want to be marketed when it comes to the marketing side of it, and be taught when it comes to the teaching side of it for the players. So since then, when that was like my primary focus as my role in my job, it has changed a lot from to now where I'm at with Harvard. So products for marketing side, Adobe was the first thing that I learned right away at University of Florida as a graduate assistant. So there was making graphics for recruits, graphics for emails, graphics for coaches to text out. Any way that I could be helpful, I was trying to learn any tech to kind of get myself ahead of the game. Same with Marquette. So we would use a lot of Photoshop, Premiere, making videos. My boss's big thing for me was making hype videos for pre-games, which was hilarious because I had no skill in that area. And now all of a sudden I'm trying to make these extremely hype videos with all these awesome plays from the year, whatever it was, picking songs that the girls liked, putting After Effects on there, and just learning different ways to keep them engaged and get them excited. So I remember people always talk about, when you're in a conference tournament, we were in the Big East conference tournament. And a lot of people have to pull all-nighters because you have a new scout every day. Who wins? You have to switch it up. Okay, no, we don't have Villanova. Now we have Seton Hall, whatever it is. And I told them, yeah, I had an all-nighter too, but it was me making a highlight video for the next game. So I spent all night listening to the same song over and over again, which was very exciting for me. But yeah, I think each generation likes to be communicated to differently too. And it seems like with these young people that we're coaching, they're changing all the time. And so whether it's, year to year, you're talking to freshmen, you're talking to seniors, they're different and they like to be taught differently, spoken to differently. And also obviously individuals on a learning level. When it comes to video breakdown, you just kind of have to understand how they want to be taught and want to be learned. So for me, we use Huddle Sports Code. So again, that was a technology that I think everyone's familiar with now, but that we used right off the bat at University of Florida. And so it's a lot of different ways. We'll break down practice, we break down game film, obviously. And sometimes it's a text right after practice. So we'll jump on, cut some film up. And if I am harping on something with a kid all day, your foot positioning is wrong, like you're doing this, and they can't get it. They can't get it. That's usually a sign that they don't know what you're saying. So right away, I think that's one of the best ways to get something to really be ingrained in one of your student athletes' brains is here. This is what I was seeing all day at practice. Do you see this? Like confirmation. Yes, coach, I understand now. I think that's an awesome way. I think sometimes when you wait an extra day, it kind of leaves their mind already. And they're like, all right, I'm ready for you to yell at me again all day about this. So just a little bit better sometimes to kind of get ahead of it and make sure that they understand immediately. And then obviously just film sessions for us. We're doing it really regularly. So I have a position group. I work with the post players. So for the most part, I'm watching film with them. And getting a consistent routine is just what I think is the most important. So they know to come in after every game day for sure. And then a lot of times after practices, harder practices for them, they know to come in whenever they have time in between classes, whatever it is, they can bring lunch, it doesn't matter. And, we sit in my office and go over everything. And that's just their chance to see what I'm seeing, ask questions, learn. And I also think a big thing is showing them also what it should look like. So not just, hey, this is wrong. You're not doing this right. Move your foot here. But do I have some clips of it being done really well, whether it's one of their teammates or a professional team, WNBA clips? Hey, this is what I'm asking you to do. How does this make sense to you? I'll show them with me positioning. We'll go on the court, whatever it is, just trying to make sure that, you're not spending so much time teaching them in a way that they don't understand.
Right. So you touched on a little bit of our next question. I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. With the technology and the hype videos and marketing your program, right? And obviously, you said it's changed a lot. I mean, even high schools now have like all kinds of crazy technology.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of John and I talk all the time as we watch like high school games and things like that. The numbers in girls basketball, a lot of teams' numbers are down, right? So how can we use some of that as a tool to get more kids interested or notice the program? Obviously, we encourage multiple sport athletes and things like that, but how can we use some of that technology in those videos and some of that promotion stuff to get kids interested and keep playing at the high school level?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important, obviously, for your teams to be seen and be marketed. And obviously a big part of that, if you're trying to reach, 14, like starting early, 13, 14, and then 15-year-olds and on, is meeting them where they're at. And that's basically every social media platform. But it seems especially TikTok right now, Instagram, Twitter, less for that age group for sure. But they want to see people that look like they're having a good time. I think that's what really at that age that they're looking for is, are these girls having fun? Do they seem welcoming? Does this seem like something I can do also? So I think that's something to be tricky about too. If it's like a really great highlight and it's always like super hype, like that could also be really intimidating, to be honest. So just something that's like, this is very welcoming. This is an environment I want to be a part of. Culturally, it looks like they work hard, they have fun. I think having that on any social media platform and using your own players to market it is huge. So will they repost it? Will they post it from their own accounts? Can they be the very one that is reaching these young people by posting their own stuff, and that could be individual clips that they just grabbed from Huddle, or obviously a team video, but just using different ways to reach those young people. But I think even more so, it's just how you reach them in person, and how welcoming your girls are. I think that's like the first impression. If they come out and they're really, really excited, but right away feel like it's something that they can't manage or they can't do, I think I would guess that is a big reason why there's a little bit of a fallout. But just getting them engaged, I agree with you. By marketing on social media could be really, really helpful.
All right, Pelicky, you better start making some TikTok videos then. I want to see it.
Let's go.
Let's
I want to
see
see
it.
your skills.
I need coach's skill right there.
I really use our players a lot. I don't think that I have any TikTok skills, and I don't know if any three of us have time to be scrolling and learning what's trendy. So we just ask our girls, we're like, what is cool right now? Can you make this for us? Will you post this on your end? And they absolutely love it. And they take ownership of it. And that also is a cool way to get your girls involved with the program.
That's a great idea, because I wouldn't have a first clue. I wouldn't have any clue.
So let's kind of talk about scouting reports. At multiple stops, you've had a major role in kind of helping create the scouts and scouting reports and etc. And I think this can be tricky, whether it's the collegiate level, the high school level. It's how long should a scouting report be? How much information do you truly want to give your players? And kind of when does it become that balance of preparing for the opponent, but also kind of doing what you do? What would be your guidance on some scouting report creation?
Absolutely. I err on the side of less is more and concise information. So whether it's just bullet points and it's like maximum 7 words in the sentence or whatever, just finding a way to be really concise. For us especially, obviously these young women are in really rigorous courses. They are busy. They want the information fast and clear. They're used to it that way. And they'll tell you also, if it seems too wordy or too much, which is great. I love that about them for our team. So I keep it really short and sweet. So especially in the first 2 pages, a lot of times we have an overview. We use the program Just Play. The front is an overview, talks about the team at large, a little bit of information. Maybe we played them last year. So, hey, they had a great season last year. They lost 3 of their starters. Just kind of give them a picture first, a bigger picture of what the team is about right now. And then go a little bit deeper into their offense, their defense, and then the personnel. So for us, we try to keep it pretty short and sweet for personnel, 4 bullet points of who they are, what they do specifically. And then on the right side, we'll usually do how to stop them defensively. But I think a lot of it is just being really clear about what you guys want. I usually add on the end of the scout a bunch of more detail. So I'm just like, hey, please look at the first 2. Please know these very, very well. But if you are somebody that loves a ton of information, do you need to see stats? Do you need to see depth charts? Do you need to see shot charts? They are at the end of the scout if you want to go through and learn a bit more, which some players really love, and they're really detail oriented, and that makes them feel more confident. So I think it's a mixture of, hey, here's the really meat and potatoes of what you need to know, but if you want to dive deeper, here's all of this information. And as we talk through the scout, we're going through the film. I'll be a little bit more detailed, so we'll talk through who these kids are, but as they go, see how she jabs right here, loves to go left into her step back. She does that every time. Whatever it is, just being a little bit more detailed as you talk through it, but on the actual physical scout, a little bit more clear and concise.
Oh, that's awesome. That's especially, we talk about technology, right? Everything's in 30-second clips, right? 15 seconds. So, kids are used to that these days. That's kind of how they communicate. I'm also recognizing like the amount of, I guess, programs and things that now you can do all this stuff, right? You have any number of things. You just mentioned a couple that I hadn't even thought of that you guys use. It's crazy the amount of stuff. Now we should have thought about that, John, gone into the scouting business. There's so many programs. It's so cool. You can get anything you want.
Definitely.
So, all right. So I want to kind of tie this in here. In your experiences, you've come on, whether you played or coached with some new head coaches, right? First time head coaches. So let's talk about the player aspect, right? As a player, right? How did you adjust and maybe, you've been in the program and assist your head coach in kind of getting comfortable, maybe knowing the girls, um, kind of figuring out the landscape, and then take that to the coaching aspect of helping your head coach kind of gain that confidence and get a clarity early on of kind of what the program is, right? Because it's always a learning curve every time you come in somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. As a player, it's now becoming more and more clear to me in the roles that I've had, why maybe my journey has taken certain directions that it has. Like I really did not think of how many first time head coaches I have worked with until I was set to talk to you guys. And I was like, wow, wait, Michelle was also new to Denny Crown as a head coach. And then both my college coaches, when I, started out at Florida Southern and then transferred, and then it just kind of has trickled on and on. But I think what's been really neat is that my perspective as a student athlete with first time head coaches or first time coaches at the new program has really helped me as a coach now understand what that coach may be feeling, just by knowing what it was like as a player to sometimes feel certain things or experience certain unclarity from the head coach's standpoint or whatever it was. It's definitely helped me now see how I can be helpful as an assistant coach. I know as a point guard, as a shooting guard in college, it was really helpful, I think, to my development as, a future coach to be, that I had opportunities on the floor to be, coach on the floor and to have a voice and speak to my coach and tell them about what I'm seeing or help them understand some of my teammates and how they learn or how they listen or how they are motivated. It helped me kind of change my lens at times to be a little bit more coach minded than player minded. And then it obviously trickled into some of the roles that I've had. And I've learned over the last couple of years and working with first time head coaches that the most important thing is to support them and have their back. Whatever it is, you ride with them and you make sure that they know that your loyalty is where it is and that you'll do anything that you can to help them be successful in their new role. Helping them see through any blind spots that they have. They're going to be really lasered in, focused, super passionate, super excited, super ready. But I think sometimes that could create tunnel vision, that could leave some blind spots, and just helping them see through those and have their back and cover different areas when needed so that they can focus on, building the program, supporting the team, coaching the team when it comes to being in season. Just having their backs on any of the kind of peripheral stuff that comes up. And then also like just being a step ahead when you can, finding things that could be a need for them, any information that they may need, and just thinking ahead and having it ready for them so that they don't have to stress on anything.
All right, so I'm going to follow on this a little bit, and then now you more personally, when you're in that role and you're the assistant coach, kind of finding your role in that program. And obviously it's different for every coach you have, right? They have different things they want done in the program. So finding your role and then presenting, I always find this interesting, presenting ideas to your head coach, right? And again, we tell our players, know your personnel. Well, you got to kind of know your coach. Everybody's different, but how do you go about those two things of like kind of carving out your role? Obviously it has something to do with your skills that you have, but then when you have an idea, hey coach, I have an idea, this might work, or I saw something, how do you go about presenting that?
Yeah. Finding the role is a lot of fun with each new staff. One, because obviously your coach is going to tell you what your actual job is, what roles you need to do and cover for the program. But you're also dealing with a lot of new people, depending on how big your staff is. Ours is a staff of 5, there's staffs of 12, 15 with GAs and whatever it is. But finding, how you work with other people and what your head coach really needs from you, not just the actual role that you're presenting, not just the things that you're doing for them, but also what personality do you need to take on? How do you need to be around them? Is a really, really fun process. So I think that, like you said, is really different from job to job. It is really about Two, adding what you can bring to the program. What are your special skill sets beyond what you're being asked to do, beyond, you need to scout these games, you need to be the recruiting coordinator. What do you bring to the program? So, for me, I talked with coach, besides the obvious, I'm coaching the post players, I'm the recruiting coordinator, but I'm really passionate about community service, and I'm really passionate about mental health for our players. So she also added that on to my role and responsibilities, is to bring up new ideas in those two areas, bring up ideas for how we can engage in our community, which is so important just for us to serve, but also for us to connect and to build a fan base. And then for mental health, just what kind of resources do we have on Harvard's campus? How can we get these girls tapped into any of their needs? And so that was, for example, just something that I kind of added on to my roles and responsibilities. But also from the aspect of bringing up new ideas, I just bring up ideas. I don't know what to say. There's no special formula. I don't care if you say no. I don't care if you say heck no. But a lot of times also a no turns into like a maybe, or a let me create my own idea from that, and thank you. So I just try to make sure that's quality. As long as it's an idea that I have really thought about and I'm really passionate about, I'll bring it to the table. If it's something that just like spur of the moment came up, or it's just taken from somebody else, but I don't really have the belief or understanding or information to back it, I'm not going to bring it up. But I just will bring up, honestly, whatever that I'm really passionate about, and just see where it lands. And if your boss is receptive to it, it's great. If they're not super receptive to it, I still think it's really important, especially if they seem to reject things right away. A lot of times they're just going to mull it over, and it may not come to a yes, but it may add to them and add to their mentality or the way that they're thinking in some way, shape, or form.
All right, I want to transition to our halftime adjustments. This is more X's and O's. Anybody who's worked a Division I game or played in one knows you're getting stats like during the timeout, after the timeout, right? You're getting all kinds of stuff. So when you go in at halftime, you played your half. What are you kind of narrowing it down to look at? Like, hey, we're being successful. You're kind of your key stats, or we need to improve on this. How are you kind of determining those adjustments and what you're going to kind of go plan for the second half before you go in and talk to your players?
Yeah. So obviously from the assistant standpoint, if it's my scout, it's a lot different than when it's not. So that's when you have a little bit bigger role in terms of kind of calling those adjustments and raising those to the table. But we go through defense, offense, culture. That's how we specifically speak, so that we stay on topic and stay getting through everything that we need to. So defensively, like you said, how are they beating us? What do we need to adjust? So we'll actually live stat line by line every defensive possession. So that's one of my roles is what did they run? How did they beat us? What was the outcome? And so we're talking about that. I mean, those adjustments are happening in our live timeouts as well. As 3 times in a row, they beat our hard hedge, pass it to the one more, and got a 3-point shot or pass it into the post from the top of the key. And so we're trying to do that live always, but obviously at halftime, a big thing is going through that sheet, talking about the different ways that they beat us specifically, and really staying on pace with what are they doing the most of, what are they running the most, and how are they beating us in that regard. So bringing those ideas, like you said earlier, bringing those ideas up to coach, how can we change this? Having an idea right away of what you would like to do and seeing if they agree, is a big part. Coming with solutions, not coming with problems. So we try to talk that over right away is the defensive side. We'll use stats, obviously, like you said. So once we grab a stat sheet, we'll see how many times they beat us in transition, how many post touches or paint touches they have, et cetera, that can kind of help back us on that regard. Or especially offensive rebounds is something that we really tune into, is how many offensive rebounds or second chance points have we given up. So we can really harp that with our girls as well. And then offense, one of our other coaches is a little bit more of on the offensive role. Mine is defensive. So bringing up same way that we chart every single possession defensively, it's offensively as well. What have we ran? What were the outcomes? What is open? Has that team also made adjustments? Do we perceive that through our scouting that they are going to change in the second half, especially if we're killing them on this play? Hey, we might need to be looking at this option next time, because I'm sure that now that they're going to, take away that pass or whatever it is. And then culturally, we talk about, how tight are our huddles? How connected are we? How much are we talking on defense, on offense? What does our energy look like? So those are kind of the main things that we're talking about at halftime.
I really like the end there, the cultural adjustments. I don't think we've really had any guests talk about that. So that's really good stuff right there.
I'm just impressed she can chart defensively and watch the game at the same time. That is not one of my skills. I mess that up consistently.
Sometimes it looks like chicken scratch. And I miss a couple plays, don't get me wrong, but we're doing our best out there.
I am not. That is not one of my skills. I mess it up all the time. I miss like 3 possessions. I'm like, oh crap.
Right.
So when in multiple stops, you've worked with the post players, and so just real simple for some coaches out there. What are 2 to 3 things that you would want each post player to learn? And then in your coaching mind, are you bigger on, more of the natural old school, post players, high post, short corner, low post, footwork? Or are you more on post players that can step out, ball screen, shoot the 3, etc.?
Awesome. Yeah. Post player development has been my role for actually all the years that I've been an assistant coach, which has been extremely fun. The 2 or 3 things that I would say are most important are footwork. So we say win the battle of the feet, and that's both on the offensive end and defensive end. So just getting our footing, our positioning right, so that we can take advantage, create space, and just be one step ahead of our opponent. Another would be just efficiently scoring over both shoulders. I don't specifically, need them to have a really deep bag of moves. How well do you score at the, 3 different ways that you regularly can score at the rim? And can you do that really efficiently and use your body, win the battle of the feet, be physical and score for us and take contact. I'm going to answer your question 2 for 1 here. I do love players that can stretch the floor, pick and pop, pick and roll, set really great screens. So I'm going to use that also as the 3rd skill, is just being able to hustle, have a motor, okay, get to the screen, get yourself set, and then make a play out of it. Get your guard open, but also get yourself open, and then get out and hit that 3. Let's go.
All right, so I want to talk about your recruiting aspect. All right, so obviously at Harvard, academically, right, it's a different set of requirements you have to have. But first off, I want to talk about like just how you go about the process of like establishing your plan, right, and having your focuses of who we're going to go after. Obviously, transfers and things like that, and people that come in and out have a lot to do with it, but when you're looking at it as a whole, getting ready to start, okay, we need this and this and this. How do you kind of formulate your plan and organize it to, know what we're going after throughout the year?
Yeah, so it is really unique at Harvard, at the Ivy League level, where academics plays a role. So first and foremost, you can kind of check that off your list when you're going through the recruiting process. But for us, first and foremost, it's knowing what your head coach really needs and wants. So us going through our depth chart, unlike how it is at a lot of different Division I institutions now, is we actually will have 4-year players. People aren't jumping in and out of the portal, so it's a little bit more cut and dry of the different skill sets that we're going to need, the different players that we're going to need to recruit in any given class. So it's just knowing what are we losing and what do we then need to gain is really important. In terms of the way that we go after it is a little bit different than other schools as well. So we need a really big list. So we need depth and breadth. So it's not necessarily going to be, we're going after these 10 players for these 3 spots. We need to recruit a lot of kids because the way that, the nature of our school is we can attract top 25 players in the class. But also those kids very may well choose a bigger school over us. So just having a really deep list of awesome kids that can play for us and watching them and really evaluating them, really knowing them as a player, what they bring to our program, who they are as a human is really important. So our main objectives as we recruit a person is unity, grit, integrity, joy. So this summer we spent hours together as a staff, kind of defining what we want in a Harvard women's basketball player, and identified those 4 kind of ingredients of what is going to make our culture really strong and going to bring us to championship level status again. So after that, it's just going out and attacking our list. So getting on the road, we're recruiting from Cambridge to California, out to Hungary, where I was this summer. We're recruiting all over the world. So it's really exciting. It's really challenging, but it is such a blessing to get to recruit for what an incredible institution, and one that has been a championship program in the past, and that we feel we're really close to getting back to that as well.
Coach, say those 4 things again.
Unity, grit, integrity, and joy.
All right. I just want to make sure I have that, because that was excellent stuff right there. All right, we're gonna kind of tweak the last couple questions with you. The first one is more about Illinois basketball, and Todd and I are I guess sponsored or partnered with the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association. So I'm gonna kind of zone in on Illinois for a second, and in your mind, what are some things that the state does well in comparison to other states, and you kind of recruit all over the nation, as you said, and maybe what are some things that you think Illinois should do that other coaches don't do? And let's see how long, Todd, it takes her to say the word shot clock.
Shot clock.
Okay.
There we go. No. Right when you asked about the future of the game in Illinois, I honestly think right back to the history of it, which I'm much more familiar with. And how strong girls basketball has been in this state for so long. Playing and growing up under Joe Camarmi at Dundee Crown, and the early Thanksgiving and Christmas tournaments that have been there for so long. Candace Parker dunking in my gym for the first time ever. It just has a really rich history of basketball, and one that a lot of other states are now catching up with, or really on par with. But it's been here a long time, and girls basketball has been popular here a really long time. And I think that has so much to do with the, awesome individuals that are coaching here. We have so many coaches that have been in the game for 10, 20, 30 years coaching at the same school. And it's just a really strong network of individuals who really deeply care about girls basketball. So I think that's really what I would say and compliment Illinois on is the network of awesome coaches that care tremendously about growing this game and supporting their young girls, their young women, and growing it in, different ways. Like you said, IBCA, there's just people here, supporting our coaches and supporting our young people so that the game can grow. Our AAU programs are growing, I think, stronger and stronger, more, teams on, whether it's a shoe program, All In Elite going Adidas, Midwest Elite. There's so many teams that are really strong, and then new ones that come out of nowhere and all of a sudden have really great kids. So I think Illinois has just done a really good job of elevating our game and getting girls on different stages so that they are being seen nationally when it comes to obviously college recruiting, which I'm a little bit more zoomed in on. In terms of what they would change, I don't think I'm close enough to give a really great answer. But again, I will reiterate, shot clock would be just so fantastic for all parties.
So Todd and I have really started to hit on this, when Todd and I started, when you were playing high school basketball, when Todd and I were in high school, there were so many coaches that did it for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Mm-hmm. Something Todd and I noticed last year and a little bit the year before, but not so much in COVID, but definitely last year, there was like 30 to 35 head coaching openings between boys and girls in the last year. And you're just seeing so many people leave in droves, coaches that are leaving in droves, the profession, not necessarily just high school, but just the profession. So what do you think we can do, especially on the high school level, to kind of maintain the coaches, to kind of maintain, those coaches that have been places for 10, 20. I mean, we saw coaches take jobs in the spring and then leave in the summer. So kind of how can we go back to kind of maintaining that tradition of people being there for decades? That's
a great question. I would imagine that support is huge, and that's probably also from their athletic department. Not only, being grateful and showing love, just, in a way of, thank you, and you're doing an incredible job, but resources, money, supporting the program in ways that, they need to make it better, to make it maybe even easier on the coaches at times would be, really huge. But I think it would just be that support, I imagine. And that coming from their athletic department, coming from their community, and a strong program that they're building, just having it from the bottom up, just a ton of support for what they're doing.
All right, so I want to talk about your involvement in the WBCA's. So you want to be a coach program. You obviously graduated from there. First of all, tell us what the program was about, and then in general, why is it important to be involved in those kind of coaching communities and the benefits of whatever community you're involved in?
Yeah. So you want to be a coach program is has had the biggest impact on my coaching career. And that was the first thing, which is crazy. But that program comes from the WBCA. It was a program that I had to apply for and have recommendations for. And luckily I knew one person in Division I coaching at that time. Her name is Shimmy Gray Miller, and she helped me get into So You Want to Be a Coach. And from there, the program was so much about women leaders, just pouring into college seniors who are interested in the coaching profession. So whether it was an X's and O's breakdown, or a how to meet people, network, and get into this coaching profession, or how to take care of our kids, the type of mental health stuff that we're talking about, we were talking about then. They're still talking about having breakout sessions and talking about all that. So they really covered over about 3 days everything that we needed to know to kind of get head started and jump right into the coaching profession. And I'm so incredibly grateful for my time with that group, because that did get me my first job. And it was at University of Florida with Amanda Butler and with Shimmy, and got me, head started on a career that I absolutely love and adore, and has taken me places that I never thought I'd be able to go to. WBCA is huge now for me still. So that is, an organization that every year I am a part of. I go to the Final Four convention and dive into numerous topics over, again, the course of a couple of days. Also, I stay in touch with the We Coach organization, which is women's coaches at large, which I think is really cool, because women's basketball is very different than other sports in terms of our profession. And so to just hear from other coaches and learn from how they interact with their student athletes, what they do for their program, how they market it, anything like that is really neat, and just gives you a little bit of a broader perspective of coaching profession at large.
And then second part of that is how do we continue to grow the number of women's coaches in the game? And there's we were fortunate enough to talk to awesome coaches. Shimmy's a rock star. She was awesome. We had her on. She was so generous. And if you look at her Twitter, she's good at shoveling now. Apparently, she's all out there shoveling and doing all kinds of stuff. But how do we continue to grow the number of women's coaches in the game? Both, yeah, in the women's side, but also on the men's side, right? There's plenty of good coaches that can coach anywhere, any level. So how do we build that and keep it going and keep the momentum going?
First of all, thank you for asking the question. I think that's awesome, and already shows your support of growing the women's game. I think that, first of all, representation matters. And when you're asking about, seeing women on the men's side, seeing that and seeing coaches at the, NBA level, working with the Memphis Grizzlies, working with the Boston Celtics, will just show that you can do it. You absolutely can do it. Becky Hammon now also, switches back to Las Vegas Aces and immediately wins, championship is incredible. But just knowing that you can do it and that the opportunities are there. And I think that a lot of, coaches on the men's side are looking to hire women, which I think is phenomenal. But I think it just shows, representation really, really matters. And then just like support and encouragement. I think these programs are doing a really great job of keeping women and retaining women and supporting them. And it just takes a heightened level of that over and over again. I think that, women are growing in this profession, and we have strong and incredible women leaders. I have an awesome, head coach who is a woman. We have an athletic director who's a woman, and now Harvard now has a female president as well of the university. So really, really excited, and an encouraging time for women, to jump in and to stay in the sport.
Yes, I will just add, and thank you for that. Todd and I are major proponents of women's basketball and women in coaching, and it's one of the reasons we started this podcast amongst many, just because we have both been in the women's side for far too long, or more years than Todd and I want to admit. That just means we're old, but yes, that is definitely something we are passionate about. So as we get into our last two segments, the first one's called 30-second timeout. This is kind of where we allow our guests to have a platform to talk about whatever they want, themselves, their family, their program, something they want the listeners to know about. Turn the tables on Todd and I and ask us a question. Kind of the floor is yours, whatever you want to talk about.
I think Harvard basketball is the most exciting thing on my plate right now, and I can't get enough of it or stop thinking about it. And actually so excited to get back to the program from our break here. But there's just a huge buzz around our program, and that's from our players, our staff, our alumni, our fans, and it's just so incredible to work for a school that has such an incredible tradition, a program that has such an incredible tradition, and alumni that are super, super supportive. And we have Princeton coming up. And so my girls are teaching us about that little tradition, which is beat Princeton, and a rivalry that is so strong, and so much fun to be a part of. And we had a Yale game for football, which is a huge tradition that is super, super old, where thousands and thousands and thousands of people came onto Cambridge's campus, and we got to see, at large, the Harvard faithful. So just a really exciting time to be a part of a program like this, and a chance to rebuild a championship program is definitely the most exciting thing right now for me.
All right, we're going into the last segment, quick hitters, rapid fire, random questions. So we do emphasize random,
Okay.
not necessarily about basketball. The first one, most unique food you've eaten in your travels.
Okay, I'm going to go with fried gator bites. Thank you, Gainesville, Florida, for a good old time.
Right, and it's fried. It's got to be good, right? I mean,
Gotta
come
be
on.
fried. It's yes, absolutely.
I had a feeling when she played in Florida and said she coached at Florida, I was waiting for some gator, something.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right, so best collegiate, if this is as a player, best collegiate travel story.
Okay, collegiate travel story. I'm going to go with, we played in DC, and most of our girls had never been on public transportation. And our coach had us go on one of their trains. I don't know if they were called subways, but our player got her bag stuck in the door, and we had to have the whole force of the team behind her squeezing it through. And it was really hilarious.
That's awesome. All right, you're welcome to the varsity moment as a high school player. Like, you got on the court and you're like, oh boy, somebody gave it to you, somebody was giving it to you, maybe somebody really good you played against, whatever it may be.
Okay, I really thought about this. I don't know if I have a great one, but I do remember a game where I came in very, very confident, and I was point guard, and I got picked off so many times individually, and had to go through a very big growth moment of learning how to protect the ball, but also just having that confidence shaken a little bit as a freshman.
All right, so now this is one you can laugh about now, but maybe a time you messed up in coaching that at the time maybe you weren't laughing, but now you can kind of laugh about it.
This is so hard because you never want to laugh at stuff like this. But I remember in a media timeout, I reported a stat very wrong to my boss, and I was like outraged. It was like I read something wrong somewhere, and I was like, they have 10 offensive rebounds in the first 5 minutes. And I was fully wrong. And she said it to the team and then was very mad at me. So I'm somewhat chuckling now, but it was a horrible moment.
All right. John put this one in, so I'm guessing he has some inside information. Are you a Cubs fan or a Sox fan?
Cubs fan, baby.
Okay, so I'm guessing
I
he
did
knew.
my homework.
Okay,
Okay, there you
you never know. You never know. Favorite Cubs player of all time.
Okay, I'm gonna go with my man, Anthony Rizzo.
All right, yeah,
Big love for Rizzo. I know it's a popular choice. I know it's a popular.
You're a younger Cubs fan, so that's right in your.
Well, yeah.
Sammy Sosa, come on now. I was gonna say it, but I was very young then.
Okay,
But
yeah,
it's Rizzo now.
It was a fun time.
Absolutely.
I don't think she was gonna, turn to Dave Kingman, Todd.
She wasn't going. I'm an Andre Dawson guy. That's my guy, Andre Dawson.
Okay. All right. So last one, this very, very heavy hitting question. On New Year's Eve, are you a go out person or a stay in person?
We have a game on New Year's Eve. So
Okay.
my answer is gonna be go out if we win, stay in if we lose.
There we go. I like it.
So Coach, we were really excited to get you on. We've had multiple people that on, Shimmy Gray, Miller, we've had Ryan Gensler, and everyone we've talked to that knows you was like, you got to have Allie Sanders. You got to have Allie Sanders. So thank you so much for being on today with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the After the Timeout podcast in concert with the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association. Please remember to give us a 5-star rating wherever you may listen. For more show content and upcoming episodes, follow us on Twitter at After the Timeout and subscribe to our podcast for upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening.